The Alpha's Untamable Luna. Episode 9. Hearing the urgency in my tone, she seems perplexed, possibly even a little alarmed. In my mind, I see the two hunters standing at the edge of the clearing, guns raised, telling her what is going to happen in a matter of seconds. I'm not quick enough, though. Bang! I hear Dahlia yelp, the bullet tearing through her shoulder, and then I see her fall to the ground, my stomach dropping to the forest floor below me, the air leaving my lungs. Finn, I hear Randy say, "Oh yeah," with a cheer. He keeps rejoicing, saying, "Straight down. Did you see that? Just dropped like a sack of potatoes." I'm motionless as the two hunters come out of the trees where they are hiding. My legs are giving way under the weight of my hefty body, and I feel physically ill. I can almost feel the pain of my rapid, ragged breathing rattling in my lungs. "Dahlia! Would you please respond, Dahlia baby?" I'm pleading as I try to stay upright while still gasping for air and having tears sting my eyes. Her mind link is barely there, but I can feel it. She's practically unconscious, like a glimmer of light in the dark, hardly noticeable. Finn. I can feel the burning pain of the bullet in her shoulder and the exhausting effort it's taking for her to respond to me, but her response is weak. She's exhausted and extremely hurt. Knowing Dahlia still has a chance, I feel my limbs becoming stronger and not buckling as they used to. I'm still with her. I drive through the meadow at full speed without thinking twice, catching up to Dahlia. Now that the hunters are out in the open, Randy is still telling Alan what a great shot it was. It only makes me more angry and disgusted with them. I surprise them by jumping over Dahlia's prone body and positioning myself in front of her for protection. I raise myself to my maximum height, looming over them and casting my shadow across their startled faces. With wide eyes on his middle-aged face, Alan murmurs, "Trev, wolves don't travel alone." With a bone-chilling growl, I snapped my jaws at them and drew back my teeth. With his gun still in his hands and his slicked back hair tucked under a ball cap, I fix my attention on Randy. He has beady little black eyes and a handlebar mustache. He smirks and raises his gun at me, saying, "Oh please, allow me, I'll get this one for you." Alan realizes his friend's error and yells, "Randy, don't," his eyes wide with terror. Before Randy can even comprehend what's happening, I lunge at him. I grab the gun in my mouth, snapping it in two as I clamp down on it and wrench it from his grasp. Randy begins to say, "What the foo?" and I can see genuine fear in his eyes as I rear up on my back legs and slam into him, pinning him with my front paws. As I dig my teeth into his shoulder and cry, all I can think about is destroying this repulsive, vile excuse of a person who nearly stole Dahlia from me. I barely notice his screams, his arms and legs flailing in a desperate attempt to get away from me. I keep tearing the flesh of his shoulder from his body, and I love every second of it, even as his blood fills my mouth. I clamp down on his neck, snapping it between my jaws with ease, unable to control the raging fire inside of me. The last wheeze of breath leaves Randy's lungs, and his whole body goes limp. I quickly raise my head to see Alan 20 feet away, staring at his hunting partner's mangled body with a pale, sickly expression on his face. I remember Alan's hesitancy, how he had truly attempted to persuade Randy not to shoot Dahlia. I am able to control myself just enough. I give him an unforgiving growl, and if he doesn't get the message right away, I snap my teeth and bark at him. Alan whimpers as he starts to run back into the woods in the direction they had come from, the rifle that had been over his shoulder now lying forgotten on the ground. I spin around, concentrating on Dahlia now. She is lying on her side with her eyes closed and her breathing shallow when I find her. On her right shoulder, her coat has a scarlet stain and is steadily bleeding. Hell! 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 I looked back at the trees and realized Alan was long gone. To get Dahlia draped over my back, I roll over and nose my way under her side. I get up and start running back towards the cabin in a desperate attempt to re-establish my mind-link connection with her. All of my cries go unanswered, and I have no way of knowing if they were even heard. I've got you, baby. Hold on. Dahlia, you dare not abandon me. We're nearly there. Even as I feel the pit of uncertainty and grief deepen inside of me, I continue to send her all the mental support I can, fearing the worst. Before I can stop myself, my mind is racing with ideas, holding her dead body in my arms, planning her funeral at home, seeing my pack bury her in the ground. I charge forward, piercing the forest's edge and ascending to the cabin. I gently lay Dahlia on the porch before rushing back inside to retrieve the first aid kit. Dahlia has changed as well by the time I get back. This is not encouraging because when wolves are seriously hurt or killed, they often transform back into humans. Nobody knows for sure why, but it seems like the magic that makes us, starts to leave them as they approach. No. I find some gauze and alcohol, but I don't even let myself finish the thought. Dahlia stirs, moaning, but mostly still unconscious as I clean the wound and flush it. My hands tremble as I frantically tear the other supplies out of the kit in an attempt to locate the tweezers. I watch helplessly as my hand shakes too much to be useful for this once I have the tweezers in my grasp. I tighten my jaw, desperately hoping that the shaking will stop long enough for me to assist her. I force myself to slow down by taking a few breaths, but my hand barely stabilizes and the adrenaline still flows through me. Finn. Her voice is hardly more than a whisper, and as her eyes open slightly, my heart leaps up into my throat and relief pours out of me. The line oh God, baby nearly makes me laugh. I touch her hair. Given that there is no exit wound, indicating that the bullet is still embedded in her shoulder somewhere, I say, I'm here, and I'm going to help you, but this is going to hurt a lot. If the bullet is in her body, her wound will never completely heal, even though her body will heal to some degree. Waiting any longer would undoubtedly cause her to bleed out because she has already lost so much blood. Just, she says, rolling her head back in fatigue. Before closing her eyes once more, she says, get it out. Her skin is now noticeably paler than before. I clench my jaw and look at the bullet wound on her shoulder, which is red, raw, and still bleeding, with streams of crimson running down her skin and onto the porch. I feel tears trying to escape, but I push them back. I dig the tweezers into the opening and steady myself once more easily this time. Dahlia's body responds instantly, writhing in agony as she lets out a cry. I want to pass out at the sound of it, but I fight the urge to do so with all my remaining strength. I keep whispering angrily, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry baby, as I frantically look for the bullet, my stomach turning as Dahlia keeps whimpering and moving beneath me. To keep her motionless, I have to pin her arms beneath my knees, which hurts more than I ever imagined. I can finally hear and feel the clink of metal against metal after what seems like hours of moving the tweezers inside her wound. Dahlia twitches again, tears running down her cheeks as I secure the tweezers on either side of the bullet, and I concentrate hard, maintaining my weight on her. I carefully pull it back out of her shoulder and clatter it to the porch. As Dahlia's movements slow down and her body starts to gradually heal again, I sigh with relief. I lean against the porch railing and sit back, removing my weight from her while using the back of my hand to wipe the perspiration from my brow. Knowing that this is over and that she will be all right helps me to control my breathing. I succeeded. Got it, I did it. Knowing that neither of us will be able to move quickly anytime soon, I give us both a few minutes to rest and recuperate. The nausea in my stomach is still there, but it's getting better bit by bit as I see Dahlia's face gradually regain its color and her shoulder wound shrink to a mere patch of vivid pink flesh. Dahlia, I say softly as I kneel down next to her and smooth back her sweat-stained hair that has adhered to her forehead. Baby, can you move? I know it's a dumb question, but I honestly have no idea how strong she is at the moment. Now that our mind link is gone, I can't tell how she's feeling. When I touch her, her eyes scrunch up and then blink open, stirring. Slowly, as if she's not sure whether I'm real or not, her blue irises scan my face. She manages to say, "I think I can," and puts her hand on my cheek. With a chuckle escaping her, she grins and says, "But I'm partial to being carried, for once." I feel the tears I've been suppressing finally come out as I lean into her hand. I keep my eyes closed, laughing as well. This girl is making jokes after being shot and having a bullet removed without any anesthesia? I turn my face into her palm and give it a solemn kiss, saying, "I got you." I hear her say, "Don't cry," with a sad tone. She sits up a little and says, "I'm fine." I instantly put my arm around her back to support her weight and help her stand. Even in my grasp, she feels so frail. I can't remember the words as the images of her body collapsing and vanishing under the tall grass fill my mind, along with her yelp of pain. I clench my jaw, taste salt in my mouth, and choke out, "I almost lost you." Dahlia tucks her face into her nook as her arms gently loop over my neck. She presses her lips against my throat and says, "I'm here. But I think now is a good time to go home." As gently as possible, I pull her into my arms and carry her inside to lie on the settee while I go about getting us both some clothes. Her face is getting back to normal as I assist her in getting dressed, but her limbs are moving slowly and laboriously. After carrying her to the truck, I buckle her up and put her in the seat. She closes her eyes and leans against the headrest. I gently stroke her hair with my hand. With her blood still on my hands, rust red and dried, I reassure her, "I'll be right back. I just need the rest of the bags, then we'll be gone." She replies softly, without opening her eyes, Okay." I hastily gather our remaining belongings and throw them in the back of the truck. As the flashbacks hit me, I scrub my hands ferociously in the kitchen sink while watching the russet water go down the drain and feeling sick all over again. I shake my head in an attempt to get the pictures out of my head. Dahlia is asleep when I get back into the Hummer, her chest gently rising and falling with each breath. I can't help but stare at her as I start to drive, fearing that she will somehow stop breathing if I take my eyes off her. Naturally, I'm aware that it won't happen, but I feel obligated to check on her often. I drive more quickly than is appropriate. I'm aware that Dahlia would be reprimanding me if she were awake, telling me to slow down because of the elk and deer that wander along these meandering roads through the woods. I push the pedal down, though, and the Hummer roars forward towards home, and I don't care. The only thing that comes to mind is how close that was. What else would two middle-aged men be doing in the middle of the Oregon wilderness? How I was to blame for not reacting sooner and piecing it together sooner. How foolish could I be? My knuckles are sore and white from holding on to the steering wheel so tightly. I glanced at Dahlia, examining her for the 1000th time. I need to grasp something other than this steering wheel, so I reach for her hand. Her fingers feel cold in my hands when I do that. I scowl and try to give her some warmth by squeezing my hand around them. Hours pass while my mind is racing with regret and guilt about the potential loss and destruction I might have been going through if she hadn't arrived. When I tell her that I heard them long before they took that shot, how can she ever forgive me? Even though I didn't lose her today, once she finds out, I might lose her forever. As the nausea in my stomach intensifies, I stop the car. As I feel ill, I throw open the door and stagger towards the trees, resting my forearm against one. When I eventually stand up, I push my hair back from my forehead, which sticks to my skin due to the sheen of perspiration. With Dahlia asleep the entire time, I wash my mouth with water before continuing the drive. When I pull back into the Dreadmoor's land, it's almost 8 o'clock. I switch the engine off and turn to face Dahlia. Her color has returned to normal, and I feel reassured by the pink flush on her cheeks. I unload everything first so she can rest as much as possible. After everything has returned to the house, I unbuckle her seatbelt and open the passenger door. She mumbles, as I lean her against me and slide my arms beneath her legs and behind her back. I calm, turning to walk as swiftly and softly as I can along the wooded path. My chest constricted at the thought of never having her in my bed again, so I said, "We're home, I'm taking you to bed." As I walk into the house, she says, "I'm hungry." I smile a little because I find it funny how frequently her hunger manifests itself. I decide to place her on the couch and lean her slightly against it. She is now blinking up at me with open eyes. I walk confidently to the kitchen and open the cabinets to examine our options, saying, "What do you want?" "I can get something for you," she says, "maybe just some toast," in a slightly sleep-scratchy voice. Even with my back to her, I can hear the hopeful smile in her voice as she asks, "And some tea, too?" I ask her, "Got it? Peanut butter and jam," since I know she likes the combination. She answers, "Yes, please." I occupy myself with cooking her dinner, making her a cup of tea along the way. Before putting down her plate and mug, I move the coffee table to sit directly next to her. She says softly, "Thanks, baby," and reaches for the tea. She loses her hold, causing some to splash out the side and land on the coffee table. She laughs a little, but I just frown, seeing how weak she still is. "Oh shit, I'm sorry." I put my hand on the bottom of the mug and help her raise it to her lips, saying, "It's okay, I got it." As she takes another sip, she smiles over the mug's rim and says, I think you make it better than me now." I'm embarrassed that I allowed her to be in this vulnerable and hurtful state, and I can feel the knots in my stomach twitching once more. How could I do this? Without responding to her remark, I get up and proceed to clean up the tea spill on the table using a dish towel. Glancing over my shoulder, I see Dahlia putting down her mug and reaching for a piece of toast as I rinse and wring it out in the sink. The guilt keeps bubbling up inside of me like a volcano ready to erupt, so I bite the inside of my lip and shake my head to myself. "Hey," she calls out to me, "I could use a snuggle, I'm kind of cold." She seems to be trying to get me to come over, and even though I can't bear to see her in this state, I also can't refuse her. Out of habit, I drape my arm over her shoulders and return to her, settling down next to her. Dahlia chews gratefully as she takes another bite of her toast and leans into me. We are silent for a minute, only disturbed by Dahlia's eating her toast and my steady breathing. I have no words, and I'm not sure what to say. All I can see is a mountain of guilt and regret, flashes of her blood on my trembling, shaking hands, and her body writhing beneath me as I search for the bullet that was stuck in her shoulder. Dahlia interrupts the silence with a "okay," placing her plate back on the table after finishing just one piece of toast. "What's going on? Why do I feel like you don't want to be here right now?" Although her tone is firm, I can tell that there is underlying hurt and worry in it, as if she believes she may have done something wrong. If only she knew. I sit up a little and clear my throat, trying to think of something to say without letting it all come out at once. I give her a gentle shoulder squeeze and tell her, "No, it's not that I don't want to be here." I hope she realizes it has nothing to do with her. However, it's all related to her at the same time. Damn it, Dahlia. Unable to remain motionless on the couch, I get up. As I turn to look at her, I notice the bewilderment on her face and the furrowed brows of worry. Before I speak, I fold my arms across my chest and shake my head. My brain short-circuits and I blurt out, "I heard them." I confess to her. As I start to pace in front of the coffee table, I let go of my arms and, in frustration, run a hand through my hair. "The hunters. I heard them, well before they even took that shot at you, and I didn't piece it together in time. I didn't realize quickly enough what they were talking about, what the one intended to do to you." I turn on my heel and kick the coffee table leg so hard that it splinters and cracks, giving out, and the plate and mug fall to the floor. I should have known better. I should have told you sooner, but by the time I realized it was too late. I say. I rub my hands over my face and take a steadying breath, unsure if I have the strength to look at her face at this moment. After a moment, Dahlia starts, Finn, sounding much too composed and unconcerned. Too intrigued to resist, I take my hands off my face to gaze at her. Her eyes are staring at me with obvious sadness, and her features are soft. I knew it. I knew that knowing that I had done this would be too much for her to handle. She merely lets out a small laugh and says, "You saved my life." As if that justifies everything. My throat tightens as my emotions overtake me, preventing me from saying the remaining words. Yet, only after endangering it. Only after seeing a bullet rip through you, and Dahlia yells, "You couldn't have known," and shakes her head as though this were the most absurd thing. We were both distracted and had our guards down. I mean, how often is it you get people just traipsing around through the woods there? Probably never, if I had to guess. She looks at me with a scowl. Her not blaming me at all is almost worse. I had been expecting her to feel the same way the entire time, that is, that I should have been more alert and acted sooner. Even more painful, though, is the fact that she is not placing any blame on me. I stammer, my tongue feeling like a lead weight in my mouth. "Dahlia, you don't get it. I heard them talking about you." I heard the sound of the gun over his shoulder. I reach for Dahlia out of instinct as she gets to her feet, shaky and unsteady. However, she uses the couch's armrest to support herself while waving a hand. She looked directly into my eyes and said, "I don't give a damn if you heard them or not. This was not your fault." Her words were accompanied by a fiery conviction. "It was a close call, I'll give you that, but don't you dare stand here right now and try and shoulder the blame for this," she says, her jaw clenched, her face simultaneously dejected and angry. As I try desperately to figure out why in the world she isn't more angry with me, I feel my breath catch in my throat. How could she not be? Dahlia approaches me slowly and reaches for my hand, which I give her before I even hesitate. She grabs one of her forearms for support as she draws herself towards me. "I am so sorry you had to see that," she says, shook her head. With distant eyes, she imagines it and rambles, "If it had been reversed, and I was watching that happen to you, but you did everything right, Finn." When I look down at her, I can see how firmly she believes this and how she is completely free of judgment and betrayal. It simultaneously frustrates and relieves me in some way. I want to make her angry with me. I wish she would stand there and rant about how careless I was and how I didn't act quickly enough to prevent her from suffering such severe injuries. I lift my hands, which I know are trembling, once more and cup her face, pressing them firmly against her skin. I can smell her shampoo, feel her soft skin beneath my rough, calloused fingers, and hear her heart beating steadily in her chest. I was on the verge of losing everything. Losing her. She relaxes into my touch while closing her eyes, and I can feel my insides churning as I realize once more how destroyed I would be if she hadn't persevered. I close my eyes, lean in, and firmly press my lips to her forehead, enjoying the sensation of her skin against my lips. I pull back and say, "I can't be here. I'm sorry, it's not you, I swear." I make an effort to make sure she gets what I'm saying. "I'll be back in a bit. Promise." With my hands dropped, I turn on my heel and get closer to the front door. Dahlia protests, "Wait, Finn," as I grab the handle. I interrupt her with a flat "I'll be back." I don't look back as I slam the door behind me after swinging it open. Dahlia, for a few moments, the house is silent as I stand in the living room, stunned by Finn's response. I can't even count the number of minutes I spend mentally reliving everything in an attempt to explain why he feels so accountable. He appeared so upset as he stood there, as though he had been the one to pull the trigger. How could he hold himself responsible for this? How could he believe that, as if he had some sort of ability to see into the future and foresee everything, he should have been able to comprehend what was going to happen more quickly? He's put this on himself, and it's unfair and ridiculous. He is by no means justified in assuming responsibility or blame for what transpired. After a while, I awaken from my reverie and look down to see the pieces of the broken coffee table and the dishes flipped over on the floor, along with my forgotten and cold piece of toast. My muscles ache from the strain as I bend over and pick them up. I finally make it into the kitchen and, sighing, set them both on the counter. I'm worried about Finn's whereabouts and activities, and I'm hoping that he's doing well, whatever that may be. Even though I know I'm not in the right frame of mind to shift, let alone run through the woods to catch up with him, I still want to chase after him. I'm firmly established at the counter once more, with more queries and ideas circling my head as we play a sick game of tag. From one, to another, to still another, to knock, knock. I raise my head to glance at the front door, wondering who could be unexpectedly showing up here at this time. I see the door's handle turn and swing open, revealing my response. Sam? I ask, honestly surprised she's here. With her long chestnut hair pulled back into a sleek ponytail, Samara enters the room. She appears to have been relaxing at home right before coming here, dressed in track pants and a hoodie. Hey, she says, her brown eyes meeting mine with what appears to be genuine worry. She's always around her brother and family, so this is the first time I've ever seen her looking anything other than playful and teasing. Before I can stop myself, I ask, "What are you doing here?" and hope it doesn't come across as being too direct. She holds up her phone, which is clasped in her hand, and responds, "Finn texted me. Said it was an SOS and I needed to get over here right now. Something about staying here with you until he comes back." Before her eyes meet the broken coffee table still in the living room, Sam kicks off her shoes and approaches the counter to join me. "Oh," she says, nodding and raising her eyebrows. With a faint smile tugging at the corner of her mouth, she surmises, "So I take it he isn't in the best of moods right now." With another sigh, I nod. "It's been kind of a long day," I scowl as the fatigue from the hectic activities returns. Pushing off the counter, Sam goes to the coffee maker and opens the lid to remove the grounds. "Well," he says. She laughs to herself and says, "I'll put on some coffee, and you can fill me in on why exactly my brother has decided to go AWOL." I can tell she's trying to lighten the mood, or at least my mood more than anything else. We move to the couch once more, stepping over the splintered wood and settling into the cushions as Sam prepares our 2 mugs. I take hold of the hot coffee mug and start telling her about what happened today, beginning with us in the meadow. She doesn't say a word, but her eyes are on me the entire time, and she nods as I explain. It's strangely soothing to have Sam around. I notice that I'm relaxing my shoulders, letting go of the mug in my hands, and my stomach feeling less queasy overall. I sigh, shake my head, and run a hand through my hair. Then he just turned and left, telling me he would be back in a bit. That's all. Didn't get the chance to do or say anything else. He was just gone. Sam pauses before responding, her lips pursed in contemplation. "Well," she starts. I look back up to meet her gaze as she says, "I wish I could say this is shocking behavior for him, but honestly it reminds me a lot of something that happened when Finn and I were kids." "Really?" I inquire, practically giggling. With a charming smile, she rolls her eyes and makes quotes with her fingers. Yeah, I was 8, Finn was 13, and we were out messing around in the woods here. Just like we always did. Finn was usually really good at keeping an eye on me. He ruined a lot of my fun on account of it being unsafe and me being too small. As I visualize the scene, I also feel the corner of my lips lift. It's clear to me that Finn would have been a fiercely protective big brother. He remains so. Unable to resist asking, I ask, and so what happened? Sam sits cross-legged and shifts, pulling her legs up beneath her. I managed to sneak off without him realizing. I did it on purpose too, since I knew he was going to be all helicopter parent if he saw what I was doing. She giggles. I went to this creek that Finn never let me cross by myself. It was pretty fast-moving water and the log that went across it was slick and rotten. He was always saying how easy it would be for me to fall in. Whether that was by slipping right off it or by stepping on a dead part of the tree and having it break underneath me. Sam simply nods and smiles when I ask, but little Sam refused to be left out of the big kids club. Her eyes appear far away for a moment, as if she is reliving everything. Oh yes, there was no way I was going to let him sideline me any longer than he had. So I went, and sure enough, my little paw slipped right off about a third of the way across. I managed to catch myself, and Finn had caught up to me by then. She nods. He started coming for me, but the branch I was clinging to ended up snapping off, and I got swept away. My eyebrows go up because I didn't anticipate this turn of events. What did you do? What did Finn do? Sam appears tearful as she responds. I tried like hell to swim to the bank, but I really didn't stand a chance. Finn had already jumped in and was swimming after me. He was bigger, stronger, the current didn't affect him as much as it did me. He grabbed me by the scruff of my neck and dragged me back to safety. The realization that Finn has been protecting his loved ones since day one makes my heart skip a beat. As I picture the two drenched pups returning to their parents' house, I remark, I bet your parents were none too pleased. They weren't all too happy with me, sure, but they were thrilled Finn acted so quickly and saved me. But Finn insisted he didn't deserve any reward or thanks, that it had been his fault in the first place it had even happened, since he lost track of me. Sam nods her head. He sulked for like 3 days, feeling so awful about the whole thing. My mum had to stage an intervention, got my grandma to make him his favorite macaroni, sat him down and looked him dead in the face and told him he can't always feel so responsible for everyone, even me. I scowl, realizing that a lot of what transpired today probably aggravated an old injury. Finn likely thought it was a rerun of nearly losing his sister, only this time he was nearly losing the partner he had spent the majority of his adult life denying existed. I sigh and slowly nod, saying, "This explains a lot." Sam's eyes soften as they come to rest on me. He loves you, doesn't he? Finn's always been hard on himself about keeping those around him safe. His family, the pack, and now you. The question takes me by surprise and makes my heart race. I nod in agreement, feeling the blood rush to my face. As I nibble on the inside of my cheek, I confirm that might have come up this weekend. Yeah, that's why. Sam smiles knowingly as he laughs. Finn is so blinded by his need to protect everyone he cares about, he's completely willing to throw himself under the bus whenever he gets the chance. I say, a bit too strongly, but why? I don't understand, it isn't his fault. Sam shrugs, a hint of sadness on her face. She chuckles and rolls her eyes. It's just how he's always been. Maybe some weird effect of the alpha genes, she says. Some weirdly strong sense of responsibility for his pack, but I have a good feeling it's just how he's hardwired. After giving this some thought and analyzing the reasons behind Finn's feelings, I can only agree with Sam. Why he is the way he is unknown. What makes us all the way we are? A result of both our positive and negative experiences, a concoction of our deepest anxieties and life lessons, a mix of nature and nurture. It all floats around in our hearts and minds, influencing our actions and responses. I say, thanks for coming by, knowing that it's almost 10:30 now and that Sam probably didn't plan to spend her night in this manner. I honestly confess with a sheepish smile, I think being alone here with him gone would have been too much. I'd probably have taken off after him at this point. Sam waves it off while nodding. It's fine, really. Not like I was doing much of anything important when Finn texted me. Obviously he knew you shouldn't be alone right now either. Knowing she's right, I nod. I was weak, bewildered, and even a little afraid, but Finn wouldn't leave me alone. He considers the needs of others even as he rushes out the door, overcome by his own feelings and thoughts. Sam's audacious question, "Do you love him too?" surprises me once more, but when I look into her eyes, I see nothing but a kind of curiosity. Her brown eyes resemble Finn's in that they are both warm and almost calculating and analytical. I'm grateful for the low lighting in here at the moment as I fight off another blush that is attempting to surface. I respond plainly, I do. We both chuckle as I continue, I never would have thought I'd be saying that about the deadly Dreadmore Alpha, and yet, I find it surprising that Sam responds, well, for what it's worth, I'm glad. Finn needs someone to love him like that, and someone who isn't afraid of telling him when he needs to pull his head out of him. Sam smiles and we all giggle. After having the opportunity to speak with Sam, I feel lighter and much better. Even though her arrival here tonight was unexpected, I'm glad she did. I ask her, hoping she might know more than I do, what do you think he's doing right now? With her long hair blowing over her shoulder, Sam shakes her head. She sits up and leans forward to take my now empty coffee mug from me. Honestly? He probably isn't going to come to grips with him being blameless for a bit. He's probably running around like a madman, trying to exhaust himself, and doing nothing but trying to wrap his head around what you guys were talking about. In time, he'll come around, she says. Sam gets up and walks confidently into the kitchen to put both mugs in the wash basin. Sincerely, I hope you're right, I say. Sam returns to the couch and smiles at me. My brother is an idiot, but at the same time, he's also one of the smartest people I know. He takes his time in accepting things he doesn't like. But he gets there in the end. Sam gives a firm nod before turning at me. Need a hand getting into the shower? I think after a day like today, you'll feel better with one. As I accept it, I glance down at her extended hand and give her a quick smile of gratitude. I get up and say, I think you might be right. My joints are still stiff, but not nearly as much as they were before. Sam supports me as I walk cautiously and slowly to the bedroom, holding on until I'm in the lavatory and can balance on the counter. I say, I'm good from here, not wanting to put any more pressure on myself. I laugh and say, really, thank you for coming, Sam. This was kind of exactly what I needed. She smiles, and I notice a dimple that I don't think I've ever seen on her cheek before. Hey, what else are little sisters for if not giving inside information on their big brothers? Her eyes have regained their mischievous gleam, and I am overcome with emotion as I recognize that Sam is now essentially my sister as well. In the hopes that she will comprehend my appreciation, I repeat, either way, thank you. Sam dismisses it with ease. Sam looks back to the bed behind us with a question in her eyes and says, don't worry about it. Finn's a handful, I should know. Not wanting to keep her any longer than necessary, I say, yeah, I'll be fine to make it into bed, don't worry. You can go home if you want. She smiles once more before surprising me by embracing me tenderly. I'll trust you to do that, but I'll probably stick around and watch some Netflix until Mr. Grumpy gets back. Just so he doesn't get his knickers in a twist more than he has. I swiftly give it back, observing that Sam is genuinely a very kind person who only likes to put on a teasing front before letting others know it. Her humor, in my opinion, is a defense mechanism, much like Finn's brazen, cold-shouldered demeanor is his. As she steps back, Sam laughs and says, "Good night, Dahlia, I hope you sleep like a rock." I nod and laugh. I say, slowly feeling my fatigue return, I think that is exactly what I'll be doing. Sam gives me a shoulder squeeze and moves away, saying, "Good. I'll be here, just holler if you need something." I watch her walk out of the bedroom, closing the door behind her, and nod. Seeing the freshly healed bullet wound in the mirror and the tiny streams of red that are still adhered to my skin, I start the somewhat laborious process of taking off my clothes. I scowl as I reach around to touch the scar with my finger, remembering vaguely how Finn took the bullet away from me. I shake my head, keeping myself occupied by taking off the rest of my clothes and getting into the shower so I don't get too sucked into the moment. It feels nice to feel the steam and hot water on my skin, but when my shoulder tells me that I won't be able to wash my hair tonight, I give up on the idea. Before leaving again, I rinse my hair of the suds that have partially scrubbed it. I just slip into the blankets and pull them tight over my body, not bothering to put on any pajamas because I know it will only make me feel more exhausted. I easily fall asleep, but not before wondering about Finn's whereabouts and whether he's all right. Dahlia, I realize right away that Finn has returned when I wake up and feel the bed shift slightly next to me. His body is warm and inviting as his arm slithers around my waist, drawing me flush against him. I've missed him so much that I sigh into the sensation of him pressed against me. I ask him, my voice heavy with sleep, "What time is it?" "SHH," he whispers, his lips pressed against my ear. He rests his cheek against my hair and plants a kiss on my temple, saying, "Late. Go back to sleep, baby." Disregarding his suggestion, I find his hand and interlace my fingers with his, saying, "Where were you? I was worried." "I know, I'm sorry." His words convey a genuine sense of regret. He slightly tightens his grip on me and says, "I just had to clear my head for a bit." I try not to pay attention to the tiny ache in my shoulder as I roll over. In the darkness, I can just make out his face's outline. I extend my hand, locate his cheek, and press it there. I ask, not knowing how else to put it, did it help? Finn doesn't respond right away, and before he does, I can feel his jaw slightly flex beneath my hand. He responds simply, yes. I feel somewhat relieved when he follows up with, I'm better than I was. I feel the tug of sleep calling to me as I close my eyes. I wouldn't hesitate to melt into him because he is so warm. Instead, though, I pull myself into him by putting both of my arms around his neck. In response, I sense his arms encircling me, keeping me close to him while pressing his face against my neck. As he takes slow, deliberate breaths, I feel the tension in his muscles release as he inhales me. I whisper, if you love me, you'll forgive yourself for this. I can sense his astonishment as I say this, his grip slipping slightly. His voice trailed off, Dahlia, I say bluntly, no, Finn. I don't want to hear any more nonsense justifications for his responsibility. If you love me, you'll forgive yourself for this. Because I never even blamed you in the first place. For a few long seconds, he doesn't say anything, the only sounds are our breathing. Finn swallows deeply and says, I do love you. You know that. I just need some time. I nod, remembering what Sam told me earlier in the evening that if Finn was allowed to process this on his own terms, he would change his mind. I feel him shiver as I run my fingers down his back and say, I know, that's okay. We continue to hold each other for a few more minutes, just soft touches on our skin. I pull away, lowering my head to look for him. I give him a little fun with that as our noses touch, and then I put my lips to his. For this fleeting tender moment, Finn holds me to him by pressing his hand against my hair. I whisper against his lips, loving the way the words flow more and more as I say them. I love you. Finn's voice sounds rough as he responds, I love you too. I sigh into him as his hand grips my jaw and his thumb slides over my skin as he tenderly kisses me once more and runs his tongue along my lower lip. Finn snuggles up against me as we pull apart, and I roll back over, putting his arm around my waist once more. In the darkness, I grin to myself, as if I were gradually reviving him. Finn, despite my reluctance, I depart early the next morning. Unfortunately, after our trip to the cabin, I knew that this is the reality we would be returning to. Since our allied packs will be arriving by tomorrow morning, I have meetings scheduled throughout the day. At the Elder Council building, I meet with my dad and the council, and we spend time talking about our nearly perfected strategy. I can't help but examine it closely, searching for any weak points, and paying close attention to the area map while the people around me converse. Finn, where do you intend to have Dahlia when all this is happening? When I hear my dad's voice, I snap out of my reverie and look up to see that he and the other elders are staring at me. I nod, not liking the idea of Dahlia being anywhere near the battle scene, but at least being able to keep her somewhat out of the line of fire. She's going to be with Maddox, Jace, and Nova, in Group C, holding the perimeter. Shouldn't see too much action, but if she does, I know they'll have her back. My dad quickly follows up, saying, okay, good. You planning to do some sparring with her? Brush up on her skills. I nod, sigh, and press my lips into a firm line. As soon as the others are here, yet. I'm not going to let her go into this thing blind. I respond quietly. Soon after, the meeting ends, and I walk out of the building with a little less anxiety. Dahlia won't be in the middle of it, and our strategy is sound. We have more than enough numbers to compete. I make my way back to the main square, which is crowded with pack members getting ready for the arrival of our eastern factions. The bakers are kneading more dough than they anticipated, the garden volunteers are carrying baskets of fresh produce back and forth to the communal kitchens, and the blacksmiths are pounding and bending red-hot steel into what will soon be armor-organized chaos at its best. I can hear Dahlia's voice in my ears as I turn left, heading out of the square towards our logging team's next meeting. I hear her say, "Yes, that's perfect. We need at least that many, if not more." I turn to look for her. "Don't worry too much about those, I'm getting Amelia to handle it." Through the crowds, I eventually make out her, holding a clipboard in one hand and a pen in the other, conversing with Darius, who usually takes care of the monthly dinner catering. Before pirouetting back towards the kitchens, he assures her, "I'll have them done by tonight, for sure. I'll tell the guys we gotta pull double time, but we'll make it happen." Dahlia nods to herself, her brows knitted together as she thoughtfully crosses something off on her clipboard. I feel a surge of admiration in my chest as she silently reads something to herself and mouths the words back to herself. I check my watch and see that my next meeting is officially starting in 10 minutes. I'll take Dahlia whenever I can since I haven't been able to see her all morning. To meet her, I walk confidently through the crowded square. She must sense my presence because her head snaps up and her eyes are fixed on me before I'm even 10 feet away. I feel as though I've never witnessed such a lovely sight before as a tiny smile appears on her lips. Every time I see her, it feels like I'm seeing her for the first time again. When I'm close, she begins, "Hey you," but I interrupt her by taking her waist in my hands, pulling her flush against me, and pressing my lips to hers. It seems like my world is instantly quieter even with all of these people present. You can finally hear yourself think, as if someone had turned down the volume on a loud infomercial. After this busy start to my day, I'm more thankful than ever for the tranquility that Dahlia gives me. With a playful blue gaze and a quizzical expression on her face, she pulls back from the kiss while grinning. She shifts the clipboard in her hands and asks me, "Now what was that all about?" I rub my thumbs across the bare skin of her midsection while shaking my head. She is dressed in blue shorts and a summer tank top that fits her well. I can easily slide my fingers under the tank top because it's flowy and loose. With an honest shrug, I say, "I'm just glad to see you." I smirk and ask, "Do I need a reason to kiss you?" Dahlia blushes visibly, and the sight of it makes my chest tighten. She laughs and looks at my face, probably attempting to gauge how I'm feeling in light of what happened last night. "Well, no, I suppose not." She asks me, "How were your meetings?" I give a sigh. "They went well enough. Just so time-consuming, getting ready for this. It's been a little while since our last encounter with another pack, so it's hard to get into the rhythm of it." I clarify. I look down to where it's still in her hand and say, "You look like you're in charge, clipboard and everything." Dahlia's eyes brighten as she smiles and nods enthusiastically. Yes. It's going really well, we've got the catering all sorted, music is done, the decorations are about 80% finished, and I've roped Maddox and Jace into doing the heavy lifting with the tables and chairs. She ends with a smirk, probably delighted to have the opportunity to control Maddox after their first encounter. I give her a knowing glance and a gentle smile. See? First official Luna business and you're killing it. Dahlia smiles sheepishly as she looks down. She looks back up doubtfully and shakes her head, saying, "Well, don't go getting too overly confident. Planning a party is a bit different than leading an entire pack." "Hey," I say sharply to her. I try to reassure her, and it appears to be effective because I see her eyes soften and she nods. "Don't go doubting yourself, just take it one thing at a time. Pretty soon you'll have an entire roster of accomplishments behind you, and there'll be no reason for questioning yourself." She sighs and runs a hand through her hair, making it look even better than it did, if that's possible. "I know, you're right, it's just, old habits die hard, you know," she asks. As I drive into her, I can't help but picture me putting my hand around her curls and pulling her head back so I can see her neck. Knowing that I don't have much more time before my next meeting, I clench my jaw for a moment before answering. I say confidently, "You'll get it, baby. I know you will." I smirk as I gently squeeze her waist and she takes a deep breath. "I have to go, my next meeting is in a few minutes. But I'm glad to see you're so on top of things." With the expression on her face, she whispers, "This list won't be the only thing I'm on top of today." I feels like getting harder, so I grit my teeth and tighten my hands around her waist. I pull her closer to me so she can feel my length and respond in a low voice, "I'll see to that myself." Dahlia's eyes enlarge slightly before her cheeks turn red and she lets out a startled laugh. She smiles and says, "Finn Graves, you have a meeting to get to. I hope you keep up your end of that promise." She leans in to give me a gentle kiss before using her teeth to bite my lower lip, causing me to feel a sweet pain before she gently runs her tongue over it. Dahlia smiles against my mouth and then pulls away as I let out a low growl. She moves out of my grasp and says, "I'll see you later." As she takes a few steps back, she says, "I've got some lights to go track down." I remember that there are plenty of people around us who were watching our interaction, so I nod and clear my throat. I'm not concerned, though, because we were sufficiently subtle. I see Dahlia mouth her last goodbye to me as she backs away while maintaining eye contact. "I adore you." I mouth the words back to her while maintaining a controlled smile, observing as her smile slightly widens before she turns away and her head bobbles through the throngs of people. Dahlia, as 7 o'clock approaches, I'm seated in the Packhouse Cafe with Nova across from me and a half-drunk cappuccino on the table. Nova was kind enough to make me coffee and let me unwind after today's hectic planning session, even though the cafe closed at 5 o'clock. Her eyes widen and she smiles as she exclaims, "Your weekend away sounds amazing." I mean, of course not the part with the hunters and everything, because I mean, how awful and scary, but everything else sounds perfect, she exclaims. I can't believe Finn actually uttered those 3 little words. It's so hard to picture. I shrug and smile as the memories come flooding back, my stomach churning in a little bliss. We had an absolutely amazing time. And now it seems like the most natural thing for Finn to say that he loved me. I nod in agreement, and Nova laughs. It was, yes. And to be honest, I thought I'd hallucinated a little when he told me. As the reality hits me again, I take a shaky breath and say, it's just becoming so much more real now, you know? I'm officially going to be recognized as Luna by tomorrow's dinner. Nova waves her hand in a friendly scoff. With a knowing smile, she sits back and drinks her macchiato, saying, "Oh please, you were born to do this. Look at your list, look how much you did in just one day." I take some pride in the numerous crossed-out lines I've drawn over the tasks that needed to be done as I look down at my clipboard. Everything has been completed and will be available tomorrow. It wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be, and I did it. I laugh and lean back in the booth seat, taking my cappuccino in my hands and taking a grateful swig. I know, I'm glad I was able to get it all squared away. I can actually relax a little now. Nova's tone is serious, and I believe she's only ever this serious about her fashion choices. Exactly. Even better, we can focus on what you're going to wear. It is your official debut, after all. All eyes, and I mean literally all eyes, will be on you tomorrow. With dismay, I shake my head. I run a hand through my hair and say, honestly, that was the last thing I was thinking about with all of this. I grin and Nova appears really happy with my response. I'll look through my wardrobe tonight and send you some pictures, make sure I get your formal sign-off. Before rolling her eyes at herself, Nova states adamantly, absolutely you will, otherwise I might have to lodge my first formal complaint against you as Luna. But really, I insist I come over and help you get ready before the dinner. It's imperative I get to have my way with you before your grand reveal. I smile. Oh, I wouldn't dream of trying to deny you of that. Also, I'm rather hopeless myself with getting all glammed up. But I know that's a speciality of yours, so consider it your first formal favor to your new Luna. Nova nods solemnly, yes ma'am. I merely chuckle before consuming my coffee. Thanks for letting me swing in, I just needed somewhere to mellow out for a bit. Finn's finishing his last meeting of the night and I didn't feel like going back to an empty house. I clarify. Nova simply gives an indifferent shrug. I feel grateful for Nova's friendship once more as she smiles warmly and says, seriously, you are welcome here whenever. And not just because you're Luna, but because you're a friend, and my friends are always allowed a free coffee and a table to crash at. I tell her, you're honestly the best, Nova. She actually gives me a shy look for a second before it turns into a playful smirk. With the sun gradually fading to the horizon, she says, her green eyes darting out the window next to us, I know, but it doesn't hurt to hear it every now and then. I'm a little surprised by the look of fear on her face when she admits, I can't lie Dahlia, this whole rival pack thing has me a bit wigged out. I nod, knowing exactly why she would be so uncomfortable. We don't know much about this pack, and they have already shown their ruthless intentions by killing Frank. Now, we're going to charge headlong into a conflict with them. I push my clipboard away and fold my arms on top of the table, saying, I know, Nova. I don't expect you to put on a brave face. I think we're all a bit shaken with everything that's happened. Especially considering we have no real idea as to the true numbers they have. Recalling the devastation of my own pack, I conclude by saying, all I know is Finn isn't going to allow them to keep doing what they're doing, and neither will I. Nova frowns slightly and nods. She stops short of saying, Callum is a good fighter. Finn is putting him with the other offensive teams. I know it's what's right, and I know he'll probably be fine, but, and I can already tell she's reenacting all the worst-case scenarios that could happen to her partner. I can tell because ever since I got back from the cabin, I've been doing the same thing. I respond sympathetically, it's hard not to go to a bad place when you think of him out there. I get it. I frown as the pain of uncertainty strikes and tangles in my stomach. I know you and Callum will come out of this, at least, I have to believe that. Nova gives a nod. I can feel her anxiety as she looks down into her mug and says, I know, you're right. It's not like this is the first time we've ever had to be part of a takedown before we have, but only once. And it killed me to say goodbye to him and not know if he would be coming home. If either of us would be. I say, hey, and Nova's green eyes dart up to look into mine. We might not know about the entirety of this pack and its numbers, but we know what to expect at Frostclaw. And we will have more than enough ability to take them down with the other factions helping us. I remind Nova as well as myself of these details. I reiterate what Finn said the last time I brought up this matter with him, it shouldn't be any type of real challenge, compared to what the Dreadmores have had to take on before. With a sigh, Nova smooths back her hair, the strawberry hues standing out against the cafe slow lighting. No, exactly. This won't even be a huge thing, it'll be over before we know it and we'll all be back here, safe and sound. She smiles before turning to me. And it makes me feel better knowing we'll be together, at least I'll be able to watch the back of one person I care about. With a half-hearted smile, I reach across the table and give her a firm squeeze on the hand. I say with more assurance than I anticipate, I feel the same way. We'll get through it and then let go. We both hear the door chimes bell at that precise moment, and when we look up, Callum is peeking in. His handsome face, blackened and filthy from a day's work at the blacksmith's tent, greets you with an easy smile. Hey ladies, he says. Hope I'm not interrupting your one-on-one time, I just wanted to let Nova know I'm done for the day. As Callum makes his way farther into the cafe and gets closer to our table, I watch Nova's face simultaneously light up and calm down, relief and happiness radiating from her. I smile and say, not interrupting at all, as I watch Callum approach Nova and put his hand on her shoulder where she sits after giving her an adoring glance. Glancing up at him, she covers her own hand over the top. Callum laughs and Nova smiles as they say, we were just going over the details of Dahlia's debut look for tomorrow's dinner. Callum smiles at me and teases me with his hazel eyes, asking, let me guess, she's going to go to town on you even if she has to strap you to a chair. I laugh as I pick up my pen and clipboard and say, more or less. I need to get going, especially if I'm going to send Nova all the outfit options before midnight tonight. I say while standing up. Nova also gets up and gives me a tight hug, which I return, saying, I am not opposed to working overtime when it comes to you, my dear. I laugh when she whispers in my ear, we are going to knock them all dead. Keep an eye on her, I tell Callum. Callum laughs and runs a blackened hand through his blonde hair as I smirk and say, she might just decide to practice on you first. He smiles and wraps his arm around Nova's waist, saying, yikes, you're right, that's a real possibility. As Nova flushes and leans into him, he kisses her hair and says, suppose she'll just have to repay me for it somehow. She gently reprimands, oh hush, you. I smile at their obvious affection for one another. Get a good sleep, Dahlia, it's critical that you don't have bags in the morning. I shake my head and start to move away. I laugh and say, yes, fairy godmother. I hear them both laughing as they open the door. I call them and they say good night you guys, before I leave for home. I nearly run into someone coming the other way when I turn a corner about halfway there. I say, oh. I'm sorry, almost instantly recognizing the individual. Brittany? I ask, startled. Dahlia, she exclaims, laughing. With her hair brushed back and her bun looking loose, she says, I'm so glad I ran into you, I was just at your place, knocking on the door. It looks like she's had a busy day. I hold up my clipboard and say, oh right, I was at the cafe with Nova, just finalizing plans for tomorrow. I raise a questioning eyebrow and ask, what is it you needed me for? She squares her shoulders and sighs. Well, she says. Her expression is sincere but also contains a hint of sadness as she says, I just didn't have the chance to really thank you for everything you did at the preschool this past week. We needed time to process everything, there was no way I could have kept the doors open without you. Without hesitation, I shake my head, knowing that if I had to, I would do it again right away. Brittany gives me a suspicious yet amused look when I tell her, Brittany, it's no problem, really. I was glad to give you guys the chance to have time to yourselves. It wasn't a big deal. She laughs a little and I smile slightly, knowing she sees right through my attempt to minimize the situation. Honey, I know what it is to be chasing after a dozen small children for hours every day. It's nothing short of exhausting. She nods, and I'm relieved that she's moving past her loss. I wanted the chance to thank you myself. Walking back in there today was tough, but it was just what I needed. I'm sure they were all so thrilled to have you back. Jonathan was pretty displeased when I didn't know how to cut his peanut butter sandwiches the exact right way, like you do. I laugh and Brittany beams with pride. She crosses her arms over her head and says, I was thrilled to have them back too. I know things are going to be chaotic around here going forward, what with everything going on, and I didn't want to put off telling you how any longer much it meant to us that you stepped in so quickly and held down the fort. I nod, remembering how Brenda and Brittany's husband were at the funeral the last time I saw them. They were so upset that grief covered them in loss and bewilderment like an invisible film. How do you start to make sense of something so profoundly tragic? Is it even feasible? Knowing that I'll need to strike a balance between my Luna obligations and the job I decided to take on with Brittany, I say, I appreciate you going through the effort to find me yourself. But it always went without saying, in my mind. It was the right thing to do, and I still fully intend to be around as much as I can going forward. Brittany smiles tightly at me and nods. She lets out a sigh and nods to herself, saying, please, don't feel the need to overextend yourself. I'm happy for any extra time you have to help, but I know soon you'll have the whole pack relying on you. Well, I won't keep you much longer. Sounds like you've had a busy day. You should get home and rest. I take a step forward and give her a firm embrace, which she reciprocates. I feel as though she might shatter if I squeeze her too tightly because her body is so tiny and delicate. With a hopeful smile, I pull back and say, "You should rest up too. This dinner tomorrow is going to be a good one." Brittany manages a smile and nods. She takes a step back and says, "Of course, we will be there. Have a good night, Dahlia, and give my best to Alpha Finn." She waves at me and turns to leave, and I nod, "I will." I take a deep breath, satisfied, and head back through the forest to my house. My thoughts focus on the thing I have been trying to keep out of my head for the majority of the day, the vast, endless unknown that lies ahead of us. There are a lot of options, and we have no idea which ones we will have to deal with when it's time to face the strikers. Since Alpha Ezra is so intent on claiming his mate, who seems to live here, I wonder if she or he senses Alpha Ezra's presence. Do they know he's coming for them somehow, through the magic in our blood? Or are they, like us, in the dark about everything? Dahlia, by the time I finish sending Nova all the suitable outfit options for tomorrow's dinner, it is past 9 o'clock. We both agree that some of them have potential, but in the end, I think I should probably make a quick trip to the local boutiques. It feels like this bill is almost too large to cover, but I was so sure I would have something that would fit it. After dragging myself out of the closet, I bid Nova good night and promise to let her know if and when I decide to return to the stores. Naturally, she insisted on attending in order to offer her unmatched counsel. As I enter the shower and prepare to wash the day away, steam rises over me. I let out a sigh of relief and seek solace in the hot water and the intense pressure that strikes my skin. My mind is racing with ideas about the upcoming conflict, ranging from hopeful, upbeat perspectives to the most dire, catastrophic possibilities. It seems like my brain has changed into an arcade pinball machine, and a tween child is determined to hit the ball as hard and quickly as they can, regardless of how forcefully they press the buttons to do so. Not having heard or sensed any movement or sound at all, I gasp in shock as a pair of hands grab my middle. "Oh," I sigh as I instantly identify the owner of the hands, unwinding. I smile as Finn plants a kiss on my shoulder and says, "It's you." With a faint hint of amusement, he says, "I didn't mean to startle you." "It's not your fault," I blurt out, aware of how disconnected from reality I am at the moment and barely connecting with my surroundings. Finn says bluntly, "You're distracted." I turn in his grasp and gaze up into his warm, gentle, and dare I say slightly worried eyes. I laugh a little and shrug, unable to deny it but unwilling to confirm it either. "There's a lot about to happen. That's all: the dinner and introduction to the pack tomorrow, the training sessions you want me doing, the fight," I ramble on as a flashback to a Frostclaw memory pierces my mind. It vanished almost as quickly as it had appeared, but it was still able to leave a lasting impression on me. Finn agrees and firmly grasps the nape of my neck after running his fingers up my spine. "There is." As the steam still dances between and around us, he leans in and presses his forehead against mine. "This is the first fight I'm going into where I have something to lose, Dahlia." I get a knot in my throat right away, sensing his fear as though it were mine, and it is. I have a lot to lose now, too. I don't want to experience the realization that you've lost everyone and everything once more. I say, hey, and Finn opens his eyes to look at me. I shake my head slightly and ask him, how many times do I have to tell you that I'm not going anywhere? Without missing a beat, he responds, until I don't have enemies who would love nothing more than to take you from me. It's obvious that he has been thinking a lot about this. Well, I say, laughing. I suppose I'll be telling you that for a long time to come then, won't I? When will the Dreadmores ever not have an enemy? I ask him and he smiles. He grabs the soap and lathers it between his palms before rubbing it across my back, leaving a trail of bubbles behind. You see my dilemma then. He turns me around, pressing my back against his chest. You are always going to be my biggest weakness, my Achilles heel. As Finn's fingers pinch and roll me in a painful, toe-curling pinch, I respond in a strained voice, it's not a burden I want to have put upon you, you know that. As his hands descend to my navel and then to my sensitive nub, he is speaking in my ear. He kisses my neck and responds, it's a burden I'm lucky to have, you know that. He whispers against my skin, how would you feel about being distracted from your distraction, as his finger moves, making me arch back into him. I smile and say, I would welcome the opportunity. I hear a growl of excitement go through his chest, but before I can catch my breath again, I'm spun around with Finn's mouth on my own. In a delightful contrast to the water's temperature, he presses me up against the chilly shower wall. As we struggle for supremacy, my nails pierce his powerful shoulder muscles. I grab hold of his erect member and give him a quick, rough stroke while grinning to myself. With a moan, Finn pulls away and rests his head in the rushing water. I use the moment to get down on my knees and put him in my mouth. His eyes flash open, looking down at me and meeting mine as he mutters. He places his hands on either side of my head, brushing my damp hair away from my face before tightening his grip to press his teeth into my mouth. You look way too good doing that, baby. Finn pulls me up by taking my hands and backing away just as I'm starting to gain momentum. His smirk alone is enough to make my wolf tremble with long-awaited anticipation. I'm going to lose it soon if I keep watching you do that. It feels longer and more painful to be apart from each other, it's like going into a time warp. My wolf has been aching to be with her mate once more. Finn carefully positions himself, sinks to his knees, plants his lips at my navel, and trails down. His mouth slides over the delicate flesh of my inner thigh as my fingers tangle in his hair, tugging just a little in impatience. Finn laughs as I writhe in response. My body trembles with pleasure and longing as his fingers caress my arousal. I give a growl, almost irritated. I clench my jaw and say, "You seem to enjoy torturing me to an almost concerning extent." He responds, "I only aim to please, baby." I quickly say, "Enough teasing." As I brace myself against the wall, I turn around and find Finn's hand to put on my waist. He doesn't need an invitation anymore because I can feel him grab my waist and slide into me with such gentleness, almost painfully. We all moan together at the feeling. My wolf greets her mate's return with giddy delight, and I feel a sweet sense of relief. We have a slow, intentional, and purposeful rhythm. "Finn!" I exclaim as I shudder violently and my vision briefly becomes blurry as the pleasure surges through me, illuminating me and destroying everything in its path. It is unstoppable and insatiable. All I want to do is make you feel good, baby. Breathlessly, I want to see you, I say. He should watch me as I go over the edge if I'm going to do it. I get my wish from Finn, who pulls away so I can turn around. When I do, I realize how justified my desire to meet him in person was. Streams of water run down his shoulders, back, and chest, creating pathways between the smooth planes of muscle, while his damp hair is lodged against his forehead. The same fire that burns inside me is burning in his eyes, like molten pools of caramel. My arms and legs both loop around Finn as he lifts me up, and I press my mouth against his. He moans into his mouth as he slides back inside of me. He is no longer moving slowly, and either my urgency or his, or maybe both, force me to run at full speed towards the edge. This love, this all-encompassing force that has the capacity to rip through my body like a hurricane, is building, ready to tear apart at the seams and flood in. Finn's voice is rough and ragged as he approaches the edge of the abyss that we both want to plunge into together. I love you, he says against my lips. Thus, we do. Time becomes outdated again, and I'm not sure how long we stay in this euphoric state. This wonderful delirium is all around us, and it seems so shameful to emerge from it. All I can think about are flashes of skin and lips, cries of release, bodies trembling, and hands gripping flesh. In the end, we find ourselves on the shower floor, with Finn's arms encircling me and keeping me flush against him, my back against his chest and the water much cooler. I put my head in the nape of his neck. I try to remember what it feels like to move my limbs, which now feel like limp lead noodles, while keeping my eyes closed and trying to steady my breathing. Finn's mouth touches my cheek, then my forehead, and finally my hair. He sighs and presses his cheek against my head. He asks, "How was that for a distraction?" and I chuckle. I smile and say, "You've outdone yourself, Mr. Graves." I move, feeling like Bambi about to fall over, my limbs like jelly, and say, "But we're burning through the last of the warm water. So I better wash my hair while the getting is good." Finn does the same, getting up to use the last of the warm water. We both quickly wash up before leaving. As I start to brush my teeth, steam is still present in the air. Finn fastens the towel around his waist and then grabs his own toothbrush. "Oh!" he exclaims, startled to see that a silky toothpaste ribbon is already resting on top of the bristles. In the mirror, I see his eye flicker to mine, appearing gentle and almost amused. He smirks and says, "You spoil me." I shrug, trying to hide my grin as he gives me a gentle kiss on the temple. Soon, we both get into bed and blend in as usual, with my back against Finn's chest, our bodies flush against one another, our legs a little tangled but still cozy, and his arm around my waist, holding me to him. Finn says softly in my ear, "You understand that everything changes tomorrow." I let out a deep sigh. I say calmly, feeling the bundle of nerves in my stomach tighten once more, this time more out of excitement than fear, "I know, but that's okay. I can handle change. Especially if it brings some good things along with it, such as taking my place as Luna, next to you." Finn breathes me in by nuzzling me. His voice is full of confidence, and even though I admire it, I can't help but feel uneasy about how confident he is. I am really looking forward to it. To have you take your place, to lead. I know you're going to be great at it. I don't want to crush his dreams of me, to step down from the pedestal and see Finn's sad face staring down at me. Despite my anxiety, I chuckle and say, one day at a time, baby. There is no question now that tomorrow will be a day that changes people's lives. But I don't know exactly how or in what ways that kind of change will occur. Finn replies to me with a smile in his voice, you doubt yourself too much. He says this with knowledge. He puts his arm around me tenderly and says, but that's okay, I don't mind being the one who knows exactly how capable you are, and who gets to see you realize it later. I'll never stop believing in you, Dahlia, even if you do. This declaration of love makes my wolf purr, tremble, and melt into a mound of fur on the ground. The amount of emotion that wants to burst out of you is so great that I feel my chest tighten to the point of pain. I close my eyes and further relax into him, thinking, just one more reason to love you as much as I do. His fingers lightly tickle as they move along the curve of my hip, leaving behind fingerprints that are only discernible by the tingling they leave on my skin. My cheek, ear, and hair are all pressed against by lips. He says with conviction and earnestness, I intend to give you as many more as I can. I have no reason to doubt him in the slightest. So why question yourself? Can you see how he views you? You see how much he thinks it's true? Believe in yourself because he does, even if you are unable to do so because you do. Although these words sound like mine, I know exactly where they came from, and she has previously been extremely irritated by my failure to learn these lessons. Both she and I are aware that she is correct. If nothing else, my wolf is the voice of reason I turn to when I doubt my own. With a slightly authoritarian tone, Finn tells me, go to bed now, you have a big day tomorrow. Normally, I would respond with a quip or remark about his need for control, but tonight, I just follow his instructions. Finn, before the sun rises, Dahlia and I both get up early. We lay in undisturbed bliss for a few priceless moments, skin on skin, with nothing separating us, entwined in perfect warmth. Anything else would feel incredibly inadequate, like switching from real ground Italian espresso to the instant coffee crap you get at Walmart. It's the only way I want to start a new day right now. My Italian espresso of choice is Dahlia, and I plan to savor each and every divine sip. Today is the biggest day for our pack since we acquired the land and Mad Finn pack members 3 months ago, so we only get to enjoy this moment for a short while before both of our phones start buzzing with incoming messages. Dahlia laughs and sits up while I moan as my phone keeps buzzing on the nightstand. With her hair disheveled and her blue crystalline eyes drowsy, she grins playfully at me and says, I think you're being called, Alpha Finn. She is a sight to behold, even in this state. F them all, I say, drawing her back down to me. I need time with my Luna first. I proudly let the term fall from my lips, knowing that she will soon receive the title and that I can't wait for that to happen. I press my face against Dahlia. The warmth and softness of her skin in this area of her body is simply exquisite. With a giggle, she puts her arms around my neck and rhythmically runs one hand through my hair. But I'm partial to enjoying it for a little bit longer, she reminds me, and I can tell by the tone of her voice that she's grinning. I'm afraid both of us have no choice but to leave this bed. Comfortably, silence reigns between us as the rising sun's light barely makes it through the curtains, filling our room with a faint, unearthly glow. Even though we know that time isn't standing still right now, it feels like it is. I can smell Dahlia's scent slipping off her skin and into my pores, hear her heart beating slowly beneath my ear, and see the tiny dust particles floating through the air. How rigged is this whole mating magic thing, if I am apparently destined to be with her? I don't need to feel anything other than total peace with her right now. I'm not even close to deserving it, and yet... Finn. A gentle chuckle echoes through Dahlia as I'm startled awake. Her features are painted with amusement as I sit up and pull away, my head still resting on her chest. You dozed off, she comments, grinning. She frowns a little and looks at her own cell phone on the nightstand, which is lit up with notifications and messages. And your phone is still ringing off the hook, so I think this means our morning has officially started. We both manage to drag ourselves out of bed and start getting ready with a joint moan. We all want to be clear about our roles in welcoming our factions from the east today so that their arrival goes as smoothly as possible, so I'm texting back my dad, Maddox, Jace, and a few of our elders. When I walk into the kitchen, I see a plate with toast, bacon, and 2 fried eggs on it, and Dahlia is finishing her breakfast. Beside it, a big steaming cup of coffee. I shake my head and mutter, "You're too good to me." I know I hardly have time to sit down and enjoy a proper, enjoyable breakfast with you. I'm sorry, I have to run pretty quick here. Dahlia shrugs it off with a nod of comprehension. She smirks and repeats what I told her the day I went out looking for the strikers with Keith and Julia, the day I lied to her. Ah, well, I'm thankful for whatever time I can get with you. As limited as it may be, an alpha's job is never finished, don't you know? The worst is me. Hey, I say as I suddenly remember. I take her hand in mine and draw her away from her seat at the countertop and towards the bedroom, saying, "Come with me, I need to give you something." Dahlia asks inquisitively, "Oh?" When we get to the bed, I let go of her hand and turn on my heel to briskly go into the closet and get the box out of its hiding spot. I turn back to Dahlia and see her brows furrow in more conjecture as her eyes dart down to the object in my hands. As I set the box on the bed in front of her, she asks, "Now what is this?" My mother has tied a single black ribbon around it. As she reaches forward and tugs on one end of the ribbon, I say, "Something for tonight." I take her hair in my hands and gather it over her shoulders so I can duck into her neck as I move behind her. When I kiss her throat, I can feel her heartbeat quicken. "I want you to really feel like a Luna tonight. I thought this could help with that." Dahlia's fragile fingers labor to open the box, and she lets out an audible gasp as she lifts the lid. I can't help but smile at her response because I'm so pleased with it. "Oh my," she rambles as she gently picks up the fabric and lifts it out of the box, allowing the dress to fully form while hanging in midair. I'm grateful to Sam in my head right now for spending hours with me looking through online catalogs and options. The dress features delicate thin straps and a sharp, plunging neckline. It is black, the only color appropriate for a Dreadmora Luna to wear on her title night. The fabric gathers at the base of what will be Dahlia's spine, and the back is low. Over the black, there is an overlay of what appear to be tiny stars, which allows light to pass through and bounce off its surface, producing an eye-catching twinkling effect. The dress resembles the beautiful but warped image of moonlight reflecting off a gentle current with each movement of the fabric. As she begins to speak, it's for me, she asks, turning to me with a sincere and endearing look of bewilderment, as though this might be an error. As I slide a curly strand of her hair through my fingers and catch it resting against her cheek, I can't help but laugh. Of course, who else? I inquire, observing her blue eyes widen slightly more as they return to the dress in her hands. She stammers, but it's beautiful. It's absolutely, it's stunning, and I watch in sincere admiration as she is in awe of my gift to her. She continues angrily, squinting her eyes and pointing to me, saying, "This is the one occasion in which I will not lecture you about the price, so do not go thinking this is something you can do into the future all the time. It must have cost a fortune." I take her pointed finger in my hand and kiss her knuckles while grinning and shaking my head. Dahlia looks down and shakes her head, flushed, thinking, I know I've won this battle, this time, anyway. She is so worried about how much I spent on her, which is absurd. As though I hadn't been waiting my whole life, literally, to invest as much money and time as possible in her. I playfully ask, "So, you like it?" as I watch her reposition the fabric and observe its effect in the light. Dahlia stops where she is and looks at me with evident excitement and thankfulness, but also with something else, something deeper and more profound than those feelings. My chest tightens, and I already know what that feeling is. She smiles and gently places the dress back into the box, saying, "I absolutely love it. It's too much, really. If I don't feel like a Luna in this, I'm a lost cause." Dahlia then turns to face me and pulls me down to her by putting her arms around my neck. She whispers softly, "Thank you," and then puts her lips to mine. I'm almost helpless as she makes a groaning sound in my throat while lovingly sucking my bottom lip and drawing a line with her tongue. Our desire for one another never wavers as I tighten my hold on her waist and feel her arms tighten around my neck. When I take her in my hands, Dahlia gasps in surprise as I give her a grateful squeeze. As she runs her fingers through my hair and over my shoulders, she grips me firmly and draws me closer to her. My wolf is more than happy to keep her here in this state, and her scent is wafting around me. Skimming my nose along her skin as her ragged breaths continue, I break away to ravish her neck, stopping when I get to the hollow of her throat. She sounds as hurt as I do at the idea of having to spend a large portion of the day apart. We don't have time for this, do we?" she asks. I swore as my mind raced through all the possible places I could take her: on the floor, on the bed, against the wall, on the kitchen counter, etc. Her body writhing beneath me as I pushed relentlessly inside her. She instantly pulls me back down after I pull away, this time for a quick, tender, lingering kiss. A fraction of space separates us as she says, "I really do love the dress." As I step back and gaze down into her playful cerulean eyes, she gives me a devilish grin and says, "Your heart is going to stop when you see me in it though, so be warned." I merely say, "Good." I want nothing more than to see her feeling and looking as lovely as I already know she is. I take a step back while holding her hand and say, "I have to go. I'll see you tonight." She jokes, "That you will, I'll be the one in black." For a brief moment, I realize that this is her title night, which is practically the human equivalent of a wedding. Dahlia will be a lifelong member of my pack, serving as both my mate and Luna. As ridiculously cliché as it sounds, this is the start of the rest of our lives. Knowing that I probably won't be able to take my eyes off of her all night, I say, I don't think I'll have any trouble finding you. Dahlia gently shoos me away after noticing that I'm stalling and making a valiant effort to extend our time together. Off you go now, Alpha Finn. Until tonight, Luna Dahlia. With a mind full of excitement, worry, and a little fear, I turn and head out, knowing that everything will be different after tonight. Dahlia, by the time I have completed most of the setup and double-checked all the plans for tonight, it is past 3 o'clock. I would be lying if I claimed not to be somewhat impressed by how well this all came together, even though I had an amazing amount of assistance to pull this off. I stayed with a black and white color scheme, which is timeless and classic in my opinion. For me, it also represents the coming together of Finn and Mimi as a Frostclaw and him as a Dreadmoor's member, black and white coming together in their own special dance. I enjoy the decor for myself, as a personal sentiment, but I don't think anyone else will find it particularly meaningful. I nod as I take in the scene for the 10th time, or so it seems. The black tents are decked out with fairy lights and silver trim. Over the dance floor, the other lights above us twist and wind to form yet another tent-like shape. The head table's tablecloth is deep black, while the other pack member tables have complementary silver tablecloths. Thanks to Earl from the flower shop, the centerpieces are beautiful and straightforward and include orchids, lilies, and baby's breath. At first glance, it's almost astounding how many more people are anticipated at this event than at the others. A voice behind me says, "Dahlia, you've outdone yourself," and I turn to see Greta, who is grinning as she takes in the scene. As she pulls her knit shawl tighter around her petite frame, she laughs kindly and jokes, "I think you may have put poor Finn to shame. Hopefully the boy won't be too crushed." I stand back with her and cross my arms in satisfaction. "Thank you, Greta. I don't think I'd go so far as to say I've got this down to a science, but I'm happy with it. I owe a lot of it to the rest of the team who helped me, so I don't want to take full credit." Greta smiles steadfastly and nods thoughtfully. She trails off, then gives me a thoughtful look. Yes, it is strength in numbers and in will that sets a pack apart. A fundamental lesson to learn for any prospective alpha, she says. Her next response is, "Or Luna." Knowing that I will soon be asserting my position as Luna in the Dreadmoor pack and that I will undoubtedly have to learn many lessons, probably the hard way, gives me a sick feeling. "Do you feel ready?" Greta asks without seeming to mind the audacity of her question, and after a moment to gather myself, I follow her as she starts to walk around the dining area's exterior. I confess, feeling some of the burden lifted. Honestly, I have no idea if I'm ready. Greta reaches for me and loops her arm through mine, and I shake my head, saying, "I want to be. I just don't know if that's enough." I am momentarily taken aback by the gesture, but I soon forget it as her humorous and kind demeanor seems to permeate my body, calming me and giving me confidence that everything will be all right. Although I've never experienced what it's like to have grandparents, I believe I've been extremely fortunate to be welcomed into the family by someone like Greta. She and I chuckle as she says, "I wasn't ready either on my title night." I was shaking like a leaf, couldn't tell if it was from the nerves or the 3 shots of whiskey I'd knocked back right before the announcement. I see Greta as a young woman, before she became the sardonic, funny, stand your ground woman she is today. I suspect Greta hasn't changed at all in some respects. I say, a little surprised, I didn't know you'd been a Luna. Greta laughs when I say, I assume this was before Miriam mated with Corwin. Greta sighs wistfully, her blue eyes seemingly fixed somewhere far away. Oh yes dear, ages before that, although sometimes, it feels as though hardly any time has passed at all, she says. Was there ever a point where you didn't feel nervous about it? Where you thought you stood a chance at being Luna, and doing it well? I inquire with genuine interest. I believe that this is a unique chance for me to learn more about Greta's past than Finn can, and the more I learn, the better off I will be, in my opinion. As we circle the clearing and start to loop around to the opposite side, Greta mulls over my query. I get a wave of realization when she says, I think only when I looked at Fidelis. I could see in him how much he wanted me there, how much good he thought I could do. His conviction aided my own. I realize that's almost exactly the same situation I'm in with Finn. I see that too in Finn when he talks about me being Luna. He is so completely determined and convinced that I will do well at it, that I'll even excel. I let out a sigh. I want to believe him, but the doubt knows how to come creeping in. Greta gives a knowing smile, as though she already knew that Finn and her own mate were similar. She gives me a loving pat on the arm and says, I see the way he looks at you, we all do. I nod in agreement as she goes on, it is so nice to see some of the old Finn surfacing again. I think Miriam already explained his hardships as Alpha to you, what it did to him. If I know anything about my grandson, it's that when he believes in someone he doesn't often get it wrong. We now turn the final corner, coming to an end where we started. I grin sheepishly and say, I'm flattered he thinks so highly of me. Greta laughs after her scoffing. Oh honey, of course he does. We all do. She nods to herself, straightens up, and surveys her surroundings. It's about to get just busy enough around here for me to justify returning to my room for a glass of wine and read my novel before dinner. Sincerely happy that I was able to spend this brief moment with a former Dreadmore Luna, I smile. Greta gives me a warm smile as I point to the tents and tables and say, well, thank you for spending some time with me. I feel a bit less worried about this whole thing now. Her eyes met mine as she firmly grasps my hand and says, you're far more capable than you think. That was my biggest lesson in being Luna. Don't underestimate yourself so much, you were destined for this role for a reason. She pats my hand and says, trust that. She giggles and calls behind her, off I go now, I'll see you when I've had more wine and look far more glamorous, as she totters off in the direction of the Graves residence. I shake my head amusedly and smile to myself. One day, I hope to become exactly like Greta. When my phone buzzes in my pocket, I take it out to see a text message from Nova, where are you? We only have 3 hours, so I'm set up and ready to go. Please come over here with your cute. I quickly reply to let Nova know I'm on my way, rolling my eyes at her obvious panic. I'm shocked to see how crowded the Packhouse Cafe is when I first get there. When I do, I carefully navigate among the numerous customers, paying attention to the hot coffee and pastry plates. I opened the door to Nova's apartment and went upstairs to her bedroom. Nova! I exclaim, slightly opening her broken door. It jerks open abruptly, revealing a displeased-looking Nova. She pulls me into the room and says, finally. My God, we don't have long, before settling me on her bed. Sorry, I say, laughing nervously. I was held up with Greta. I notice that Nova has several hot irons in various shapes and a variety of hair products spread out on the floor in front of us.